Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. This is a bonus episode. I am super excited. I'm going to try to do every Friday some fun favorites that are my favorites, because I'm always asking guests, what are your 3 favorite things that you're absolutely loving? Now, if I can get it done every other Friday on the weeks that we don't have podcast Thursday, then I'm just going to share whatever it is that week that I am absolutely loving. I also would love it if you would join me on Instagram. I'm at Corrine Sandifer on Instagram, because every Sunday night I share some great productivity tips, and I'm going to talk about that later, but I want to share some of my Friday favorites with you. I love Fridays. It's exciting. Football games in the fall that are coming up. I'm just super excited about Fridays, and so I want to share some fun things for you to try maybe. And so here we go. So the first thing I want to share with you is that, typically throughout the year, like kind of starting in September, I start reading self-help books. I start reading business books, industry books for my coaching. But during the summer months, I try to keep that to maybe a book, but I really concentrate on reading for pleasure. And I love novels. And one of the things that I finished reading this summer was the book called The Paris Wife. I cannot recommend this enough. But then again, I am obsessed with Ernest Hemingway and his life. I just am fascinated with the man, and I'm fascinated with that era and the things that he did and how he traveled the world and just kind of did what he just was a true artist and a true writer. And I loved, reading his books, but I also love reading about his life. So I read The Paris Wife, and when I do this, when I read a book, especially if it's something about a person that's alive, if it's nonfiction, fiction, if I'm reading about someone, then I just really try to saturate myself with, the topic, or I try to find anything else that's going on that, if there's a movie. And so I believe that the movie that is also one of my favorites is called Midnight in Paris. And it has the tall actor, and I'm trying to remember his name. He was in Marley and Me. So it's with some well-known actress and a well-known actor. I'm sorry I don't have it. I'll put it in the show notes. But he plays this guy that goes back in time to that very same era in Paris that I am just fascinated about, and what this book, The Paris Wife, is about. It is that time when Ernest Hemingway and all these other not actors, but writers and sculptors and artists and just all these creatives, musicians were gathered together and would hang out. And I'm just fascinated by that. And so I loved reading that book, The Paris Wife. Highly recommend it. The other thing that I'm absolutely loving is, even though I'm not a beauty blogger, is this new makeup thing that I discovered. I don't know if y'all have watched some of my Instagram stories, but I mentioned that so my eyebrows don't grow past like a certain point. So they kind of are shortened. They just are short. I don't know why. They just grew that way, or they don't grow in those places. And so I've always had to put a little bit of pencil on to complete it and make it an actual eyebrow, because otherwise it kind of looks like, I don't know, Hitler's eyebrows or something. And so I tried this new thing it's by Maybelline, called Tattoo Studio, and it's waterproof brow gel by Tattoo Studio and by Maybelline. And I used the deep brown. I think I probably should have gotten a lighter color, even though I can pull off the deep brown, but it does make a very dramatic eyebrow. But I love it because it stays on. I don't have to keep applying my eyebrow pencil every single day. And so I'm loving this Maybelline eyebrow gel, waterproof eyebrow gel, and it's in deep brown. So I love it. I'll have the link to it below, and you can click on there and get it on Amazon. I'll try to put it on my Amazon store as well. You know, if you click on something in the description notes or on my website under podcasts, if you click on any of those, it really does help support Rising Stories. So I strongly urge you to do that. If you're going to buy the book anyway, I mean, you're going to pay the same price. I would really appreciate you supporting Rising Stories podcast, because it is an expense to my business to put on a podcast. And I try not to do any of the, I guess, sponsorships as much as just I love Audible and I can speak about it because I use it, and I love Amazon. And so those are the only two things that draw income for Rising Stories. So I would really appreciate it if you clicked on there. If you were going to buy the book anyway, just click on my link and buy it through there. Okay, so the last thing I'm totally obsessed about, and my kids laugh at me because I'm always going back and referencing these videos, is YouTube videos. I am obsessed with watching van life videos. I follow 3, maybe 4 different couples on their journey to like changing their van, kind of doing a build out and redoing their vans, and they live in their vans and they travel all over the world. So like one of them her name is Jinti Fell. I love her. She has a little girl, and their little family travels. And then the Millennials, I think it is. I follow them. And I also follow Eamon Bec. And there's another one, I can't remember. It's something like, Where is Georgia? And that's their little girl's name. But I'll link all those below. I just think it's fascinating that they are traveling and, you know, going through to all these places. And I really wish that era and this time could have been when my husband and I were traveling, because I don't know if y'all know this about me and Michael, my husband, but he was a recording artist and a concert artist. And so we traveled all across the country, as far north as I think we went Wisconsin, maybe Wyoming, and Northern California, and as far as Baltimore, and as low down south as way down near Miami in Florida, and of course Texas. And we used to do these long stints of traveling for like 2 weeks. And we kind of like lived out of our car. And we had a daughter. We brought her in tow when she was born. But I almost wish that it was a thing, like it was okay to live in a van and travel. Because we stayed in some crappy hotels, and we stayed, you know, and sometimes the places wouldn't put us up. And so we or on a budget. And anyway, I think it would have been fun, and I wish that we had thought about doing that and just used it we could have just used it as an RV. Like, and we did have some friends, my friend Michelle, her and her husband, they used to travel, and they did have an RV, and I just was always like, oh, that's so cool. But I really wish that we had the wherewithal to just do a build out for a van and do that and pretend it's an RV and park in the RV parks. I think that would have been a lot of fun. I probably wouldn't do it now just because I really love my bed and my sheets and my home. But when you're younger, like these young couples that I'm watching, I just think it's great, and I'm so obsessed with them. And so those YouTube videos I'm just loving. So I'll link those below. So those are my favorite things. Next time I'll have another Friday favorites, and I'll do some more, and I'm just going to gather whatever. I may have more next time because I'm just starting out. And so if y'all like these Friday favorites, please leave a comment on my Instagram or message me somehow. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Or just send me an email. I'm at info@CorrineSandifer.com. You can send me an email that way. I want to share really quickly before I head out about the Sunday productivity tips that are on Sunday nights on my Instagram. One of the things that I talk about is every week I remind you to do your 3 basic productivity tips that I just think are game changers. One is take 5 minutes and decide what you're going to wear. And don't make it hard. Just kind of jot down. Like a lot of times I'll just make sure that like my black pants and a couple of my shirts for business attire are pressed and ready to go. And I just kind of think, well, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So in my mind's eye, I will just decide what I'm going to wear and depending on the weather. And I just jot it down really carefully, quickly and carefully too. But really quickly, I'll just jot it down and that's it. Just very simple. Just jot down all of your outfits. Doesn't have to be hard. I also plan my meals. And again, I don't make it hard. I just plan, what we're going to have, like Taco Tuesday, Meatless Monday. I'll just do some spaghetti or pasta. And, Wednesday, I may do like some hamburgers, just very simple. And I may even just say pasta night, taco bar night. I'll do, Thursday, or maybe I'll say Friday we're going to do pizza, or Friday is a night out because we are going to go to a football game or whatever. So those are the things that I jot down really quickly. And the last thing is that I love to do a brain dump right before I go to bed. And I'm telling you, it works. It is so very, very productive and very truth-telling of what's going on in your life. And what I do is every night, I have like a notepad next to my bed. Every night I do a brain dump. And it's always something, like sometimes I'll just lay down and then think about it. Or as I'm going to bed, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to remember to make an appointment for the doctor. I've got to remember to. And so I write at least 3 things down for my brain dump. And those are the things that I add to my list the next day. So I make sure that gets added. And you'd be surprised what is important at the end of the day. What are the things that are important to you and what needs to get done? And those are the things that will be the priorities the next day. So make sure that you are following me on Instagram to get all the productivity tips. And if you like this Friday favorites, let me know so I can continue. I'd love to hear from you and that you're listening. Thanks so much and keep rising in your story.